of the most obvious examples of the connection between resource extraction and militarism and war is the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. This is a conflict that's killed more than 5 million people over the past 17 years. It continues to kill many thousands of Congolese every single month. Many hundreds of thousands of women have experienced sexual violence as a result of that war. And if you look at where the pockets of violence and instability are located, they correlate very much with where we have mines, where there are extractive industries, and those mines are doing things like mining for coltan, which is a conducting element found in many of our cell phones, gold, diamonds, copper, tantalum, and that generates hundreds of millions of dollars for Congolese military groups and rebel groups and other groups that are operating in the area who unfortunately are very much implicated in the conflict and in human rights abuses, and including the sexual violence against women. So we are intimately connected with war, and I think from a development perspective, it's really important for all of us to ask those questions of our cell phone manufacturers, for example, video game consoles as well, to insist on greater transparency and accountability when it comes to the extractive industries so that we know where our cell phones, the components to our cell phones are coming from, and to insist on a higher level of accountability, because we can't have a situation where in our name and for our convenience you have people in another part of the world that are suffering extraordinarily. With Dodd-Frank, for example, we did have a movement towards greater transparency when it came to the extractive industry. Unfortunately, that was so far extreme that what happened was you had the closure of a lot of mines that in eastern Congo that exacerbated local poverty, put a lot of artisanal miners out of work. So there has to be that balance between, I'm certainly not advocating for a full-out boycott, but there has to be dialogue, there has to be diplomatic pressure brought to bear, and there has to be inclusion of those local communities so that they can actually realize their rights. And that means investments in education, that means investments in justice, that means creating opportunities for young people and ensuring that labor laws and human rights laws are being upheld in those circumstances. In Eastern Congo, we are piloting a program that's supported by the Wellspring Foundation here in the US. And what it is actually a distance learning program for young girls who are living in environments that are extremely unstable. They're not able to get to their schools because of the risk of violence, and they're falling farther and farther behind. So with the support of the Wellspring Foundation, we launched a pilot project about a year ago to do distance learning via radio. And so all of these young women and girls are actually having the opportunity to follow the Congolese curriculum to achieve their grades, and then they go for the testing, and then they're able to move ahead. And it's quite extraordinary. So there's a good example of how technology, and this is a simple technology that is everywhere in Africa, radio-based technology, can be used in really creative ways to allow young people, but especially young girls, to continue advancing against extraordinary odds.